السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله الذي جعل الشمس والقمر حسبانا والنجم والشجر يسجدان، فضل إنسانا على إنسان ومكانا على مكان، كما فضل زمانا على زمان. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ونبينا وعلانا وأولانا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Welcome to Quranic Arabic Academy, Arabic Grammar Made Easy, lesson number 25. 25A. So that means this lesson has few parts. So lesson number 25A. Before we start the lesson, let's make the dua. ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد رسولا. We've been reading this dua for a long time now, and after going through the Arabic grammar and going through the making sentences and making jumla fi'liya, by now we should be able to analyze this, the last dua. Raditu billahi rabban wa bil islam dinan wa bi muhammadan rasulan. So those of us who haven't or tried to analyze this sentence, later on, and you just analyze this dua, the sentence. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد رسولا. In this lesson, we're going to learn what is al-istisna, understand what is al-mustathna, understand what is al-mustathna minhu, understand what is al-istisna tam, understand what is al-istisna naqis. Okay, the Hamza of this is Hamzatul Wasl. It should be without the Hamza written bottom. So understand what is al-istisna, understand what is al-mustasna, understand what is al-mustasna minhu, what is al-istisna tam, what is al-istithna naqis. Today our main topic is al-mustathna, this one. Al-mustathna is the main topic. So we are doing al-jumlatul fi'liya, and we have done many parts, many slots in jumla al-fi'liya. One of the slot in jumla fi'liya, or sometime can be in al-jumla ismiya as well, which is the slot of al-mustathna. Okay? So understand mustathna, we need to understand al-istithna itself, and then al-mustasna minhu, al-istithna tam, and al-istithna naqis. All right, before we go into more deep in the lesson, let's recap. So far, what we've been doing, we're doing the al-jumlatul fi'liya, and jumla fi'liya has many slots. The main slot is the fi'l. A jumla has to start with a fi'l. That is why the name is al-jumlatul fi'liya. It has all these slots. Number one is fa'il or na'ibu fa'il. and the Arab of this two is always marfu', and the rest of the slots are mansub. So what are they? Number one, we've done maf'ulun bih, the direct object of the sentence. Maf'ul bihi thanin, the second direct object. And then maf'ulun fihi, the ism that tells the time or the place. Next is hal, it tells us the status of the doer or the object. And then we've learned maf'ulun mutlaq, which is called the absolute object. And another one is maf'ulun li'ajlih, is the internal motive, okay, or the motive object. Maf'ulun li'ajlih, the reason the fail has been done. Okay. So these are the slots we've done so far. So the Arab of all these are mansub. So we're going to add one more slot we are learning today, which is we're going to add here, which is mustathna. So if mustathna is one of the slots of al-jumla al-fi'liya, that means mustathna will be mansub as well. Mansub. So far, this is what we've been doing. In the last two lessons, what we did was maf'ul mutlaq and maf'ulun li'ajlih. Just quickly go through these two so we don't forget. We just recap what exactly maf'ulun mutlaq means and what does maf'ulun li'ajlih means. Okay, let's go through quickly. Maf'ulun mutlaq is the masdar of the main verb. Okay. So any ism we see in the sentence and we know it is the masdar, is not a solid ism, it's not a name of things, okay? It's not an adjective. It is the masdar. It tells the meaning of the name of an action. That's called masdar. And if this masdar is the masdar of the same verb in the sentence, then it is called the al-maf'ul al-mutlaq. The al-maf'ul li-ajli is the masdar of another verb. Okay? So the masdar is there, but when we see the fail is different. So that is called al-maf'ul li-ajli. So remember, both al-maf'ul al-mutlaq and al-maf'ul li-ajli is masdar. The difference is maf'ul mutlaq is this masdar of the same verb, and maf'ul li-ajli is the masdar of the or different masdar from the verb is used. So over here, masdar is this one. If the masdar is of the main verb, it's called maf'ul mutlaq. And what is the purpose of maf'ul mutlaq is to emphasize. And if the masdar is of another verb, then it is al-maf'ul li-ajli. And what is the purpose of maf'ul li-ajli? To tell us the reason of the verb being done. And we had these few masdars. They usually come as al-maf'ul li-ajli because they're all internal motive. Amalan, hope, comes from inside. Hubban, love. Raghbatan, again hope or earnest desire. Ta'atan, obedience. Wafa'an, faithfulness. Shukran, gratitude. Khashyatan, fear. Rahbatan, fear. Khawfan, also fear. Hirsan, greed. Tama'an, hope. Kurhan, unwillingly. Hasadan, envy. Imanan, faith. Ta'ziman, respect. Ibtigha'an, desiring. Ibtigha, we see this word in the Quran. Ikhlasan, also sincerity. And ihtiraman, honor. So next time we see any of these masdars in the sentence, then we'll know it is al-maf'ul li-ajlih. Okay, today's lesson is al-istithna'u. Al-is, then this. First is sin, then is tha. So al-istithna'u, exclusion. This istithna, the subject is one of the difficult subject of the slot of the al-jumla al-fi'liyah. It's a little bit of the way it is tongue twisting, al-istithna. The subject is also a little bit of twisting there. If you don't understand properly, then you will not understand this subject. And again, if you just learn once and forget about it, then later on you'll be confused. So you must learn this subject properly. I mean properly. So inshallah, after today's lesson, you will understand al-istithna and how does al-mustathna works, and you will understand better inshallah. If you haven't understood before in today's lesson, I can say that inshallah you will understand the subject of al-mustathna. The word al-istithna means acceptive or exclusion. The main acceptive particle in Arabic is illa. So there are other particles of exclusion, but the main one is illa, and this is what we're going to discuss in today's lesson. It is called harful istithna. Harful istithna. The ism before illa is called al-mustathna minhu. So we have illa, and we have a word before it, and we're going to have word after it. So we look at the illa first. The word before illa is called al-mustathna minhu, excluded from. Excluded from. The ism after illa is called al-mustathna, excluded. When all three, look, we have the illa in the middle, illa here. The word before it is called al-mustathna minhu, and the word after it, it is called al-mustathna. So when all three are present in the jumla, is called al-istithna'u tam. Istithna tam. When all three, mustathna minhu, the harful istithna, and al-mustathna is present in the sentence, then it is called al-istithna tamun. When only two harful istithna and al-mustathna minhu are present in the jumla, but the mustathna minhu is not present. Okay. So when only two of them, the main two, which is harful istithna and al-mustathna, if only these two are present in the jumla, it is called al-istithna'u naqisun or istithna'un naqisun. Okay. So in our main slide, when we said in this lesson we're going to learn, let's say everything we've learned in this one slide. We've learned what is al-istithna, we've learned what is harful istithna, we've learned what is al-mustathna minhu, and we've learned what is al-mustathna. Okay, let's go through again. So let me just again over here, again Hamza there. Anything else I need to change? No. Okay, so the word al-istithna means acceptive or exclusion. The main acceptive particle in Arabic is illa, and it is called harful istithna. The ism before illa is called al-mustathna minhu, which means excluded from, because we are learning excluding, isn't it? So we're going to exclude from something. So the ism or the noun we are excluding from is called al-mustathna minhu. Many of us, we know the word min, harf jar min, from it. The ism after illa is called al-mustathna. This is the main subject of our lesson today, main topic. Al-mustathna, excluded. When all three are mentioned in the sentence or present, which is al-mustathna minhu and illa and al-mustathna, it is called al-istithna tam. We'll just make this nakira. Make it nakira istisna'un tamun. Okay. Also make this nakira istisna'un naqisun. When all three are present in the jumla, what are all three? Al-mustathna minhu, illa, al-mustasna. If all three are present, it is called istithna'un tamun, a complete exclusion. When only two, which is harful istithna and al-mustasna, only these two are present, it is called istithna'un naqisun, partially exclusion, or incomplete exclusion. Yeah, so you don't need to know the meaning of it, just understand istisna tam, istisna naqis. Both will be mustasna. Okay, we need to understand, to remember this name, because later on when we do the i'rab of al-mustasna, this will come in handy. This will come and it will explain to us how to do the i'rab. Istithna tam, istithna naqis. Istithna tam is when all three are present in the jumla. Al-mustasna minhu, illa, al-mustasna. And istithna'un naqisun is when only illa and al-mustasna is present. Then we need to look at the sentence. Are all three present? If all three are present, we do i'rab accordingly. And only if only two are present, we do the i'rab of mustasna accordingly. Okay? So the i'rab of this will be different from i'rab of this. Istisna naqis and istisna tam, the i'rab is different. This is why we need to understand and remember the name istisna tam, what it means, and istithna naqis, what it means. Okay, any questions? Do you understand? Well, because it's a recording, I do want to say, okay, I don't want to say because it's recording. Right, the word al-istithna means I haven't done the Arab yet, just going through these terms. To understand these terms, it's not hard, is it? What is illa? Harful istisna. What is al-mustathna minhu? Excluded from. What is al-mustasna? Excluded. So 1, 2, 3. So in the jumla, you must have illa, otherwise it's not going to be istisna. You must have illa. If you have illa, there'll be a word before it. There'll be a word after it. The word before illa is excluded from. Al-mustathna minhu. And the word after illa is al-mustasna. This is our main. Okay, the next slide will explain more, you'll understand. Just remember istisna tam. When all three are mentioned. Look here, I put it all three for you. Suppose this is the word before illa, mustasna minhu. After illa, mustasna. Mustasna minhu, illa mustasna. So this is called istisna tam. When only illa and the word after are mentioned. There is no before. The word before is not mentioned. Only illa. And to make the acceptive sentence, you should have all three. Then it is called the al-istisna. Or sometime the word illa before is not mentioned, as long as the illa is there. And the illa is there. If the word before illa is mentioned, it's called tam. If the illa before is not mentioned, it's called naqis. Okay, we'll come back to this slide. Let's look at the next slide. We have at-tullabu, then we have illa, then we have talibun. At-tullabu is before illa, so it's called al-mustathna minhu. And the word after illa is called al-mustathna. And illa is called illa. Illa is called harful istisna. Let me just copy this one. Paste it here. Okay. First of all, we see the word illa. If it's there, we see the word before it. It is called al-mustasna minhu. Then we see the word after it. It's called al-mustasna. Simple as that. And again, if you don't understand, just wait for the examples, then we'll understand. الطلاب is before إلا. It is called المستثنى منه. The particle إلا is called حرف الاستثناء. And the word after إلا طالبون المستثنى. So are all three present in front of us? Do we see all three of them? Yes, we do. This is called استثناء تام. استثناء تام. If we take إلا الطلاب away, then only إلا and طالب, that will be استثناء ناقص. استثناء ناقص. Most of the time you will see استثناء تام because the مستثنى منه will be present. Understand? Okay. Yep. So let's see if we can go back. Okay, we'll come back to that. This is what it is. When all three are present, for example, الطلاب here, which is المستثنى منه, the إلا itself, and طالب. Or we can say another example. Another example. We can say التلاميذ instead of طلاب. التلاميذ. Then إلا, then تلميذ. فالتلاميذ التلاميذ مستثنى منه, and تلميذ is مستثنى. Okay. Then another example, we can say الملائكة, then إلا, then we can say please. Okay. الملائكة before إلا is mentioned, which is مستثنى منه, then إلا, then إبليس, which is مستثنى. Okay. When all three are present, it's called استثناء تام. When only two are present, it is called. So I can do another thing. I'll show you. Just copy this. Will work. Will work. Yeah. No, it's not gonna work. We copy that and paste it here. Bigger. I'll copy this. Paste it here. Make the font bigger. This is called استثناء تام because all three are present. And if I just copy, duplicate this and copy this one, okay, and if I take this away and I take this away, bring this over here and bring these two over here and paste that here. Do the slideshow again. Okay, so all three are mentioned. المستثنى منه mentioned. إلا حرف الاستثناء has to be there. and طالب مستثنى منه, it is called استثناء تام. And when only two of them are mentioned, حرف الاستثناء and المستثنى, this is استثناء ناقص. Okay, so inshallah when we do the examples you will understand. Okay, the مستثنى has three i'rab. مستثنى has three i'rab. So when we need to know which one is it, first of all we need to see, is it استثناء تام or is it استثناء ناقص? But before that, let's see what are the three i'rabs. Number one, وجوب نصب المستثنى. Because our main topic is مستثنى, it is wajib, it is mandatory to have the mustasna in nasab case. If mustasna is mufrad word or jama mukassar word, then it will show its i'rab with fatha al-zahira. If it's muthanna word, because it's nasab, it will show i'rab with ya لأنه مثنى. If it's jama mudhakkar salim, it will show its i'rab with the ya لأنه جمع مذكر سالم. If it's jama muannas salim, it will show with kasra niyabatan عن الفتحة. Okay, so it is wajib. You cannot do marfu or majrur. No, that's number one. Number two, jawaz nal bimustasna, it is allowed, or al itba'. Itba' means to follow the word before it. That's what itba' means. So mustasna, either you can have in mansub case, or whatever the i'rab of the word before illa, which is mustasna minhu. Itba' means to follow. Okay, and number three is al-i'rabu hasabul mawqi', according to the slot. If the slot of mustasna is marfu, it will be rafa. If the slot of mustasna is mansub, it will be nasab. And if the slot of mustasna is majroor, it will be majroor. So first of all it is obligatory, I mean wujub, to have in nasab case. Number two, jawaz, nasab case, is allowed, either one of them. Either you can do the i'rab of nasab or the itba', the word before it, same i'rab. So if the i'rab of before is mansub, you can do this mansub. If the i'rab before is marfu, you can do the i'rab of this marfu. And if the word before illa is majroor, you can do majroor, is allowed. And number three, according to the slot. If the slot is marfu, you cannot have the i'rab of mansub, because now is the slot. We're looking in the slot. If the i'rab, if the slot is mansub, you cannot do the i'rab of mansub, because the slot is mansub. Okay, so we're going to do all this one by one. So let's do the number one, ujubu nasb al-mustasna. The i'rab of al-mustasna is ujubu nasab in two places. Number one, when the jumla is muthbat, when the jumla is affirmative, muthbat, then it is wajib to make the mustasna in mansub case. Number two, when the jumla is manfi, when the jumla is manfi and al-mustasna is not part of al-mustasna minhu. Again, if you don't understand, again, it will take a little time to understand this. When the jumla is manfi, the jumla is negative, and the excluded ism is not part of excluded from ism. We'll see some examples, you'll understand. So this is only two cases. It is wajib to make the mustasna in nasab case. When the jumla is muthbat, that's very easy. When the jumla is muthbat, there is no harf nafi there. It is muthbat. Okay? So it doesn't matter either mustasna minhu is a part of mustasna, sorry, it doesn't matter mustasna is part of mustasna minhu or not, as long as it is muthbat. Because sometimes the mustasna will not be part of mustasna minhu. Okay? So number one, when the jumla is muthbat, that's all you have to remember. If the jumla is affirmative, it has no harf manfi there, then it is wajib to make al-mustasna in nasab case. Or when the jumla is manfi, when there is harf nafi there, and mustasna minhu is not part of, al-mustasna is not part of al-mustasna minhu. This is how it is, mustasna. This is how it is. This is how to explain. Otherwise, I made it simple. There is no more simpler than this. I don't think so. Just have to go through this lesson again. So today's lesson, we're just going to concentrate on ujubu nasbil mustasna. The other two will do one lesson each. So the number two Arab is jawaz, nasab or itba'. We'll do that for one lesson, we do it. And the other one is hasabul mawqi', according to the slot. We'll have another lesson for that. Because if we do all three at one go, you may not understand, it'll become a bit hard. So today's lesson is only ujubu nasbil mustasna. All you have to remember is the jumla muthbat? If it is, then yes, after illa we'll make the ism in mansub case. And we look, the jumla is manfi. If it's manfi, again, we can make ujubu nasb. But also if we see the mustasna is not part of mustasna minhu, in both cases. If the jumla is manfi, in both cases, it will be wujub. So why don't we just say when the jumla is manfi? We don't need all this, do we? We don't need that. But yes, we do. Yeah. We do, because sometimes if the jumla is manfi, then again we have the jawaz there. We'll look at that later. But we need to mention this condition here to make the jumla, the mustasna, wujubu nasb al-mustasna. Okay, so let's see one or two examples, you'll understand. Before that, let's go through some of the new fails we're going to be using in the sentence of our mustasna. So حضر يحضر حضورا, to be present. حضر يحضر حضورا. نجح ينجح نجاحا, pause. غسل يغسل غسلا, to wash. أكل يأكل أكلا, to eat. قام يقوم قياما, to stand up. So حضر يحضر, to be present. نجح ينجح, to pause. غسل يغسل, to wash. أكل يأكل, to eat. قام يقوم, to stand up. قام يقوم. So we are adding some verbs from now on. These verbs are not the normal verbs. Okay, for example, حضر, look at حضر. All these letters are called the Sahih letters. They're called the perfect letters. And look at the أكل, and look at the قام. أكل also, it is Sahih, but when Hamza comes in one of the letter of al-Madi, if Hamza comes, it is another category. When Alif comes in the middle, and when some verb will see Ya coming at the end. So these are from the another group, which is not Sahih group. So all these are Sahih. Najaha is from same group. Ghasala are Sahih letters from the same group. So when we see Hamza in one of the letters, is another group. When we see any of the, these are called weak letters. The Waw or the Ya are called the weak letters. So these will be from another group. In the beginning, I did not add any of these kind of words or the verbs. From now on, because we need more and more examples, we need to add these verbs from now on. So just memorize them if you don't know. أكل يأكل أكلا, to eat. قام يقوم قياما. I forgot to mention the masdar and the meaning. So قام يقوم قياما. Masdar قياما means to stand up. Right. Some words. طبق جمع أطباق, dish or plate. طبق جمع أطباق. And فاكهة جمع فواكه, fruit. قطار جمع قطارات, train. So just remember these words we'll be using in the sentence. طبق جمع أطباق, dish or plate. فاكهة جمع فواكه. Why is فواكه one dhamma? I think we know already. It has to be غير منصرف. قطار جمع قطارات, on the scale of جمع مؤنث سالم. It is not جمع مؤنث سالم, because to be اسم جمع مؤنث سالم has to be human. If other than human comes on the scale of جمع مؤنث سالم, it is called ملحق. We done that. ملحق جمع مؤنث سالم. Okay, let's see some examples. Our جملة فعلية, but the topic is المستثنى. So to make مستثنى we need حرف الاستثناء. So in the جملة we must have حرف الاستثناء. So the word before إلا is called مستثنى منه. The word after إلا is called مستثنى. If all three are mentioned in the sentence, it's called istithna tam. If only two, illa and mustasna is mentioned, it is called istithna naqis. Hadara, we just learned hadara yahduru, to be present. Hadarat tullabu, hadarat tullabu. The fa'il is tullab. When we see, yes, we can make, and here you can see the dhamma, the last letter. But if we don't have haraka, still we have to pronounce dhamma. It doesn't matter haraka there or not, because it's the fa'il. Hadarat tullabu. We cannot change any of the haraka here. For example, hadara over here, it is hadara. We cannot change any of the haraka here. So even there is no haraka, still we have to read hadara. At-tullabu. You cannot say tullaba. You cannot make this a maf'ul bihi. Because hadara, after hadara, we must have a file. Illa. So sawfa, two are mentioned. The word before illa, which is mustasna minhu, is mentioned. Then illa harful istisna is mentioned. What we need is mustasna to make istisna tam. Taliban, taliban. Okay. Now look at this jumla. It is muthbat. Once it is muthbat, you don't need to look anything else. It is wajib to make the mustasna minhu in nasab case. It is مثبت. حضر الطلاب إلا طالبا. You cannot say حضر الطلاب إلا طالب. That's wrong. Because this is the jumla is مثبت and illa is there, and the word after illa, it has to be in nasab case, mansub. So حضر الطلاب إلا طالبا. We do the تركيب. حضر فعل, الطلاب فاعل, just normal. إلا حرف استثناء. حرف because this hamza is hamzatul wasl, so the fa will join the sin. حرف استثناء and طالبا مستثنى. So the mustasna is excluded from الطلاب. Excluded. Mean the tullab are present except one talib. Translation is the students are present except one student. Means he's not present. Arab al-Madi, no change. Same Arab we've been doing. Fa'il, no change. No change. The Arab we're doing same, exactly same. All we need to know how to do the Arab of illa, it is harf. We done harf Arab, same. Taliban, mansub case, we've done that. No difference, exactly the same. All we have to do is change the name. That's all. Okay, حضر فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب. We know فعل ماضي is always مبني على الفتح. Yes, when they are when they ضمير متصل is added, then it will be the مبني على السكون. You know that. But because this is the first صيغة is always مبني على الفتح, and فعل have no slot in the sentence. الطلاب فاعل مرفوع وعلامة رفع الضمة الظاهرة وعلى آخره. The Arab of illa, just mentioned, illa حرف استثناء. Again, the hamza is hamzatul wasl, there shouldn't be kasra there. حرف استثناء مبني على السكون لا محل له من الإعراب. طالبا مستثنى منصوب وعلامة نصب الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره. Okay, so let me just change the حضر فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب. الطلاب فاعل مرفوع وعلامة رفع ضمة الظاهرة على آخره. إلا حرف استثناء مبني على السكون لا محل له من الإعراب. طالبا مستثنى منه مستثنى منصوب. Yeah, so in Arab we don't mention mustasna minhu because we already done the fa'il. Okay, so we just have to have in our mind, we see is the mustasna minhu there or not. We should know which one is mustasna minhu. Or at the end we can say, at the end over here, الطلاب فاعل مرفوع وعلامة رفع ضمة الظاهرة. Okay, can you give me just 1 minute? I'm just just 1 minute. Right, sorry about that. Okay, so understand the Arab of okay, we can say yes, it is فعل ماضي, so it should be the students were present. Okay, so the students were present except one student. Okay, by looking at this sentence, is it complicated? Forget all the terms, forget the mustasna minhu, forget everything. Yeah, now just look at the sentence. After illa, it is mustasna is wajib, it is mansub, simple as that. Okay, forget mustasna minhu, forget mustasna, you don't need to. Okay, just look at the sentence. حضر الطلاب إلا طالبا. So here طالبا mustasna mansub. This is how we do the Arab. Next example, غسلت الأطباق. غسلت الأطباق means I washed the dishes. I washed the plates. If you have istisna إلا طبقا. إلا طبقا. Is this complicated? So after إلا mustasna in mansub case, right? غسلت الأطباق إلا طبقا. تركيب غسلت فعل، الأطباق فاعل، إلا حرف استثناء، طبقا مستثنى. Because we're excluding one plate from these plates. So the excluded one is mustasna, it is mansub. So I washed the plates except one plate. Arab, sorry. Okay. Yeah. غسلت فعل ماض مبني على السكون لاتصاله بتاء الفاعل لا محل له من الإعراب. والتاء تاء الفاعل ضمير متصل مبني على الضم في محل رفع فاعل. الأطباق forgot to change this, so this should be مفعول به. الأطباق مفعول به, and this one should be مستثنى منصوب. Okay. So الأطباق مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصبه على آخره. إلا حرف استثناء مبني على السكون لا محل له من الإعراب. طبقا مستثنى منصوب وعلامة نصب الفتحة الظاهرة وعلى آخره. Now tell me, is it complicated? Those of you who are saying complicated, now tell me, is it complicated? So after إلا, when the jumla is مثبت, there's no حرف نفي there. Jumla is مثبت. When there's حرف نفي, this is when you need to think a bit more deeper. Okay. When the jumla is مثبت, then okay, this is how we say it. It is wajib. The mustasna has to be in mansub case. But if you don't want to say wajib, forget it. Just put mustasna in nasab case. غسلت الأطباق إلا طبقا. So غسلت فعل ماض مبني على السكون لاتصاله بتاء الفاعل لا محل له من الإعراب, because the ta is a harf, so no i'rab. Sorry, the fail has no i'rab. And what ta'u, it is a damir, so you must have i'rab. تاء الفاعل ضمير متصل مبني على الضم في محل رفع فاعل. الأطباق مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصب الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره. إلا حرف استثناء مبني على السكون لا محل له من الإعراب. طبقا مستثنى منصوب وعلامة نصب الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره. All right, so let's say just look at this way. Forget the terms, forget the words we're using. Again, if you want, because if you want to learn much better, I mean, in a good way, so the mustasna, the subject of the topic of mustasna, then yes, you must have learned those terms. So go through this lesson again, and we'll be covering these again, these terms in other lessons. So lastly, let's see another example. نجح ينجح, to pass. نجح التلاميذ, again we're going to have the same إلا, then إلا تلميذا, because it is مثبت جملة. put تلميذا in nasab case. فعل فاعل حرف استثناء مستثنى. The students passed except one student. So Arab exactly the same, no difference. نجح فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب. التلاميذ فاعل مرفوع وعلامة رفع الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. إلا حرف استثناء مبني على السكون لا محل له من الإعراب. تلميذا مستثنى منصوب وعلامة نصب الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره. Okay, so this is the subject or topic of mustasna. So in mustasna, we must have a word before it that is called mustasna minhu. The word after illa is called mustathna. When all three of them are mentioned in the sentence, it's called istisna tam. When only two, illa and tilmidh, mustasna mentioned, because some examples, some sentence we'll see there is no mustasna minhu mentioned. There's no word before the illa mentioned. This is why we need to learn all these words or the terms of. All right, so this is the end of lesson 25a. So we have another lesson on the topic of when it is allowed either to make the mustasna in nasab case or it will follow what's before it. So in the next lesson we'll learn about that. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to learn and to understand and make the time we are giving, inshallah, Allah will give us the reward of for every second we are giving. Because we're giving time to Quran. We are giving time to Quran. The more time we give it for the Quran, the more we'll earn reward, inshallah. See you in the next lesson. Assalamu subhanakallahumma bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.